Welcome to the Sleepy Oceanographer, where we drift gently through the mysteries of the deep sea. Tonight we're following the dim glow of one of nature's strangest hunters, the anglerfish. In the blackest parts of the ocean, this tiny beacon of light can mean the difference between life and death. But what makes its eerie little lure so deadly? Before we sink beneath the waves, tell me, where in the world are you watching from tonight? Let's see how far the ocean's call has travelled. Now take a deep breath, let the surface world drift away, and join me on this slow descent into the abyss. Far below the ocean's surface, deeper than sunlight can reach, there exists a realm of almost perfect darkness. This is the midnight zone, also known as the bathypelagic zone, a hauntingly beautiful, cold and alien world that stretches from around 1,000 metres to 4,000 metres beneath the sea. Here the pressure is immense, hundreds of times greater than at the surface, and the temperature rarely rises above 4 degrees, under 39 degrees Celsius. Yet even in this seemingly inhospitable place, life persists. Strange, delicate and otherworldly life. Imagine yourself drifting gently downward through the twilight waters. As you pass through the mesopelagic zone, where faint blue light still flickers, you notice the darkness gradually thickening. That last bit of sunlight fades completely. Now you're in the black. No dawn, no dusk, just a never-ending night. Your eyes strain to see, but here, vision becomes nearly useless. In this vast obscurity, the rules of survival change. This is where the anglerfish makes its home. Few creatures are adapted to such extreme conditions, but the anglerfish is a master of this depth. Its body has evolved to waste no energy, to hide perfectly, and to deceive with terrifying precision. It does not swim quickly. It does not chase its prey. Instead, it waits. Still as stone, suspended in silence. All around the water is still. No bubbles, no currents, only the faintest trails of plankton or the sudden flash of a distant light. Perhaps another predator, or perhaps a trap. The midnight zone is vast beyond comprehension. If you could remove all the water, this part of the ocean would resemble a deep canyon that stretches across the planet, larger than any mountain range on Earth. And yet, despite its immensity, it feels suffocatingly close. The darkness presses in on all sides, and time seems to slow down. Days and nights on the surface mean nothing here. The creatures of this zone follow their own rhythm, one dictated not by sunlight but by hunger and instinct. Biologists who study this depth often describe it as one of the last frontiers of our planet. Much of it remains unexplored, unreachable by traditional submersibles. The creatures that live here are rarely seen alive. Instead, they are discovered accidentally, caught in deep-sea nets or glimpsed briefly by robotic cameras that descend into the gloom. Each discovery feels like science fiction. Fish with transparent skulls, shrimp that glow like fireflies, jellyfish that undulate with pulsing colour. And then there is the anglerfish, lurking in this shadowy expanse, completely at home in the emptiness. Its body, jet black or muddy brown, blends in so well with the surrounding water that it appears as a moving shadow if it appears at all. With small fins, a wide mouth, and a body often less than a foot long, the anglerfish seems harmless at first. But in this world, appearances are part of the illusion. Up above, in sunlit shallows, predators must chase their prey, battle currents, and expend precious energy. Down here, the anglerfish takes a different approach. It lets the darkness work for it. It becomes part of the environment, unseen, unfelt, undetected. And then it waits for the perfect moment. Everything about this zone trains its inhabitants to be still, to conserve, and to strike only when necessary. Food is scarce, Some creatures may go weeks or even months without eating. This is a realm of patience, of slow movement, of quiet death. And the anglerfish has mastered this environment better than almost any other. In the silence of the midnight zone, its deadliest weapon glows with a ghostly light, a soft flickering flame in the void, suspended from a long curved spine on its head. To some it may look like a magical lantern, to others it's a cruel trick. Either way, in a place where light is almost non-existent, even the faintest shimmer becomes impossible to ignore. And so the stage is set. A predator waits, a light sways, and deep in the cold eternal night something begins to move toward it. Drifting deeper into the abyss, we begin to make out the shape of a creature, strange, still, and almost ghost-like against the background of endless black. At first glance you might mistake it for a tangle of seaweed, or a fragment of something long dead, floating forgotten through the depths. But look closer, and you'll see something watching you. Something ancient, something alive. This is the anglerfish. It does not resemble the elegant fish we see near the surface. No shimmering scales, no graceful fins. Instead, the anglerfish looks like it was designed in a dream or a nightmare. Its body is round and lumpy, often grotesquely misshapen, as though the deep sea pressure has moulded it like clay. Most species are small, only a few inches long, but what they lack in size they make up for in design. Every detail serves a single purpose: survival in a world where even a single wasted movement can mean death. Its skin's a dull brown or deep black, matte and textureless, like the shadows it hides in. The lack of reflective colour makes it almost impossible to see until it's too late. Its body is soft and squishy, with very little muscle. This isn't a creature that swims with grace or speed. It floats, barely moving, allowing the water to carry it like a leaf caught in a slow current. Energy is precious in the deep. The anglerfish doesn't waste any. But what draws the eye inevitably is the mouth. The anglerfish's mouth is enormous, gaping and lined with translucent needle-like teeth that curve inward. These teeth are not just sharp, they are designed like traps. Once something enters that maw, there's no escape. The teeth don't bite in the usual sense, they hold like barbed wire. Even if a struggling fish tries to wriggle free, the teeth simply push it deeper inside. It's a one-way gate to digestion. The mouth can open wide enough to swallow prey almost as large as the anglerfish itself. How? Because its bones are loosely connected, and its stomach is absurdly stretchy. It can eat creatures nearly its own size, and sometimes even larger. In a place where meals are few and far between, you take what you can get. And then there's the lure. Emerging from the anglerfish's forehead is a long, thin spine, actually a modified dorsal fin, that arches forward like a fishing rod. At the end of this rod is a tiny glowing bulb called an esker. This is the anglerfish's signature feature. It's deadly light. The esker pulses with a ghostly bioluminescence, flickering gently in the dark water, like a living candle. It's hypnotic, mesmerizing, a lonely shimmer in a world of darkness. This lure isn't just decoration, it's a finely tuned hunting tool. The anglerfish can wiggle it side to side, up and down, mimicking the frantic movements of a tiny struggling animal. To nearby prey it looks like an easy meal, but the moment they get close, the anglerfish's body, previously motionless, comes alive. The jaw unhinges in a flash, the vacuum-like suction draws the prey inward, and the trap snaps shut before the victim has time to react. Then stillness again. Its eyes are small and glassy, sometimes nearly vestigial. In a place with so little light, vision is less important than other senses. The anglerfish relies on vibration, movement, and chemical cues in the water to detect what's nearby. Some species can sense minute disturbances from many meters away. To us, this world seems dark and lifeless, but to the anglerfish, it is full of subtle signals and hidden opportunity. There's also a kind of clumsiness to the anglerfish, an odd asymmetry that makes it appear almost incomplete. Its body seems too wide for its fins, its jaw too big for its head. But all of these oddities are part of an ancient design, fine-tuned by millions of years of evolution to match the demands of the deep. The anglerfish is not beautiful in the traditional sense, but in the way it has adapted, in the perfect strangeness of its form, there is something truly remarkable. And it's not alone. There are over 200 known species of anglerfish, and while they share certain traits, the lure, the mouth, the eerie stillness, each has its own unique appearance. Some have fleshy tassels on their skin to help them blend in with floating debris. Others have translucent fins or bulbous bodies that mimic jellyfish. A few have lures that don't just glow, but flicker in complex patterns to better mimic living prey. Some even have multiple glowing appendages, creating the illusion of a tiny school of fish. In the vast theatre of the deep ocean, the anglerfish plays the role of a shadowy deceiver, one that never needs to chase, only to wait. And wait it does, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. But it can afford to wait because everything about it, from its ghost-like body to its haunting lure, is built for that single moment when a flash of movement turns into a fatal mistake. That moment when the deep comes alive, the anglerfish strikes. In the pitch-black depths of the ocean, where sunlight never penetrates and shadows have no meaning, a strange and beautiful phenomenon emerges, light born from life itself. This light, called bioluminescence, is not reflected or refracted from the surface above. It is not borrowed from the stars or the moon. It is generated entirely from within, by the very bodies of the creatures that dwell in the darkness. Bioluminescence is nature's magic lantern. It flickers in pulses, glows in steady rhythm, or blinks in coded bursts like underwater Morse code. It may shimmer blue, the most common hue in the deep, or, more rarely, green, red, or violet. And while it may look like enchantment, it is in fact the product of chemistry, a controlled reaction between special molecules that produce light without heat. At the heart of this reaction is a substance called luciferin, which, when combined with oxygen in the presence of an enzyme called luciferase, emits a glow. Different species have their own variations of luciferin and luciferase, allowing for unique wavelengths, intensities, and even patterns of light. In the cold, pressurized depths where energy is precious and sunlight is gone, this form of cold light is not just useful, it is essential. To us, light is so ordinary that we rarely stop to consider it. It comes from the sun, from our lamps, from the glow of screens. But in the deep ocean, light is sacred. It is rare. It is currency. And it has many uses, each as crucial and mysterious as the creatures who wield it. Some deep-sea organisms use bioluminescence for camouflage. It may sound strange, but in the ocean, being invisible from below is a survival tactic. These creatures produce light on their bellies to match the faint glow of the water above them, effectively erasing their shadow. This technique, called counter-illumination, makes them almost invisible to predators looking up from the gloom. Others use it for communication. Flashes of light signal danger, mark territory, or invite a mate. Some jellyfish light up when disturbed, creating a glowing burst to startle a predator. Certain squid release clouds of glowing ink to confuse an attacker, like a magician vanishing in a puff of coloured smoke. But for the anglerfish, light has a far more sinister purpose. It is a weapon of deception. Suspended from a long spine that extends from its forehead, the anglerfish's glowing lure is a masterpiece of evolutionary design. It hangs just in front of the creature's face, swaying gently in the current. At the tip of this spine is the esker, a fleshy bulb filled with bioluminescent bacteria that the anglerfish cultivates in a specialized pouch. These bacteria live in harmony with their host, providing the anglerfish with light in exchange for a safe, nutrient-rich environment. This glow is not accidental. It's not just a signal, it's a performance. The anglerfish uses tiny muscles to flick, jerk, or twitch the lure in lifelike ways. To a nearby fish, it might appear to be a small shrimp or worm wriggling just out of reach. The anglerfish remains still, barely breathing, its monstrous mouth partially open, teeth gleaming in the soft glow. Its body disappears into the darkness. Only the glowing bait remains, dancing, pulsing, inviting. And then, without warning, the trap is sprung. The anglerfish lunges forward in a sudden blur of motion, mouth unhinged, jaws snapping, shut in an instant. The prey doesn't stand a chance. One moment it's swimming toward a mysterious light. The next, it's being devoured whole. The power of the lure lies not only in its light, but in what the light promises. An easy meal, safety, warmth, curiosity fulfilled. But it is a lie. In a realm where vision is rare and hunger is constant, a glowing speck in the dark can override caution. It calls to something deeper than thought. It seduces. Bioluminescence is also used by some creatures to escape the anglerfish. Flashing bursts can distract or disorient the predator, or attract an even larger one, forcing the anglerfish to abandon the chase. In this way, light becomes both sword and shield in the silent war of the deep. Even more fascinating is how scientists are still learning how this light is controlled. Some deep-sea creatures can regulate the brightness and timing of their glow with exquisite precision. It is not just instinctual, it may be intentional. Like a deep-sea Morse code, these pulses could convey messages or trick different kinds of prey. In some species, lures even some glow in specific shapes or sequences, designed to fool only certain targets. And yet, as much as we have discovered about bioluminescence, it remains one of the great mysteries of ocean science. Why do some species glow only in certain conditions? How did bacteria evolve to become symbiotic lanterns? Why do some anglerfish never develop a glowing lure at all? These are questions still unanswered. But one thing is certain. In the endless blackness of the deep ocean, light is power. Whether to hunt, to hide, or to hypnotize, it is the one true currency in a world without some sun. And the anglerfish wields it like a master of shadows. Suspended in the endless black of the deep sea, the anglerfish floats with eerie stillness. At first glance, it may look like nothing more than a dark smudge in the water, a shapeless figure barely distinguishable from its surroundings. But from its head arches a long, delicate filament, an almost otherworldly extension of its body that sways gently in the current. This is not just an appendage. It is a masterpiece of evolution, a glowing beacon in the void and the source of the anglerfish's most terrifying power. The filament is actually a modified dorsal spine, one of the bones that, in other fish, would help stabilize the back fin. But in the anglerfish, this bone has changed dramatically, lengthened, curved, and relocated to serve a new and lethal purpose. It extends from the top of the head, just between the eyes, and arches forward like a living fishing rod. This is where the anglerfish gets its name. It does not chase its prey, it lures it. At the end of this flexible rod is the esker, the glowing bulb that serves as bait. To the unknowing eye it might seem like a harmless dot of light, perhaps the glint of a small shrimp or the twinkle of distant bioluminescence. But this glow is not random. It is carefully cultivated. Inside the esker live colonies of bioluminescent bacteria, specially adapted to survive in this unusual location. These bacteria do not simply exist on the anglerfish, they live in symbiosis with it. They get a secure, nutrient-rich home, and in return they provide light, which the anglerfish cannot produce on its own. This light is the first and last thing many deep-sea creatures will ever see. The esker glows with a cold, steady shimmer. In the pitch black of the midnight zone, Even the faintest glimmer becomes irresistible. The anglerfish can manipulate the lure with tiny muscles at the base of the spine, causing it to twitch, flick, or pulse in lifelike rhythms. It can make the light move like a swimming creature, erratic and fluttering, or slow and drifting like plankton caught in the current. The illusion is perfect, and in a place where food is rare and the environment unforgiving, even cautious predators or prey can be tricked into taking a closer look. The beauty of the anglerfish's lure lies not just in its glow, but in its positioning. The curved filament dangles the esker directly in front of the anglerfish's mouth. The fish itself remains nearly motionless, its body dark and indistinguishable from the surrounding water. Its enormous mouth is slightly agape, the inward-pointing teeth nearly invisible. The lure dances, the trap is set, the predator becomes a stagehand, the lure, the star of the show. Other fish, shrimp, or even squid drawn to the glow approach with curiosity. They circle the light, thinking it to be a potential meal. They inch closer, mesmerized by its shimmer. The anglerfish waits. It does not move, its heartbeat slows, its muscles tense. It watches and waits with perfect patience, letting the light do the work. Then, when the moment is right, when the prey is within striking distance, the anglerfish unleashes one of nature's most devastating attacks. With astonishing speed, the jaw unhinges. The mouth opens wide, stretching to several times the size of the anglerfish's own head. The body pulses forward in a quick burst. A powerful suction draws water and prey alike into the cavernous maw. The teeth act like a cage, snapping shut, locking the victim inside. There is no struggle. It is over in a fraction of a second. The light flickers once more, then steadies again. The anglerfish settles back into place. The performance resets. The audience this time does not applaud. It vanishes. But the lure is not always used to attract prey. In some species of anglerfish, particularly in the larvae and juveniles, it may serve as a decoy or a defense. The glowing esker can confuse predators, draw attention away from the vulnerable body, or distract attackers long enough for the anglerfish to escape. It may also help young anglerfish learn to hunt by attracting small creatures that serve as practice prey. The design of the lure varies among species. Some anglerfish have short, stubby lures with simple glows. Others possess elaborate structures, lures with filaments that look like tentacles or bulbs that resemble jellyfish. In a few rare cases, the esker can emit multiple colours or produce rhythmic pulses that mimic the light patterns of known prey. Each species has evolved its own specialised version of this biological tool, finely tuned to the needs of its environment and its diet. Scientists are still working to understand the full range of behaviours associated with the lure. Some anglerfish appear to learn how best to move the filament for different types of prey. Others can vary the brightness or hide the lure altogether when they don't want to be seen. It's not just a tool, it's an extension of the animal's strategy, a kind of puppet controlled with eerie precision. The lure is also fragile. The filament can break if damaged, and once gone, the anglerfish loses its primary means of feeding. Some species can regenerate the spine and esker, but during that time, they're especially vulnerable. In this way, the lure is both the anglerfish's greatest strength and its most delicate feature. It must be used wisely. In the vast silence of the deep sea, the anglerfish's lure is a paradox. Soft and glowing yet deadly, delicate yet powerful. It represents a perfect balance between stillness and seduction, between patience and violence. It does not need to chase, or to fight, or to search. It simply offers a little light. And in a place where there is none, that is enough. In the eternal darkness of the deep sea, the rules of nature shift into something almost surreal. Here, predators don't stalk their prey across open plains or launch surprise attacks from behind coral reefs. Instead, they become artists of illusion, masters of mimicry and deception. Among them, the anglerfish stands out as one of the most patient and cunning. Its glowing lure is not only a source of light, but a living trick, a visual lie designed to exploit the instincts of others. But what makes this performance so convincing, so fatally irresistible, is the way the anglerfish's lure imitates prey. To understand how the anglerfish manipulates its lure, you must first imagine the mindset of a deep-sea creature. In a place where food is rare, almost any movement in the water can trigger interest. Most animals here have evolved heightened sensitivity to vibrations, pressure changes, and flickers of light. These signals often mean one of two things: danger or opportunity. The anglerfish knows this, or rather, its biology has been fine-tuned by millions of years of evolution to exploit these reactions. The lure, dangling in front of its mouth like a stage prop, is not just a glowing orb, it is an animated puppet. The anglerfish uses small, precise muscles to make the lure sway, bob, flutter, or twitch. Each motion mimics something familiar to its prey: the jittery movements of a tiny shrimp, the smooth undulation of a worm, the erratic pulse of plankton. Even the light it emits is tailored for deception, soft and wavering, like the glow of another bioluminescent animal. The resemblance is uncanny. In the blackness of the ocean, creatures don't have time to stop and study what they're seeing. The shimmering, wriggling light looks like an easy meal, and that's all it takes. Hunger outweighs caution. The prey moves closer, drawn in by the illusion, not realizing that the light itself is attached to something far more dangerous. For some species of anglerfish, the mimicry is even more elaborate. The tip of the lure may be divided into thin filaments that wave independently, resembling a cluster of legs or tentacles. Others have lures shaped like little fish or crustaceans, complete with false eyes or fake appendages. In these cases, the anglerfish isn't just imitating movement. It's copying form and detail to create an even more convincing decoy. But the trap doesn't rely only on visual deception. In a world where light is rare and visibility is low, many deep-sea creatures rely on chemical cues and vibrations to detect nearby life. The anglerfish's lure may also emit subtle scents or chemical signals that confuse prey into thinking a real creature is nearby. Combined with the flickering motion and the glow, this multi-sensory trick makes the deception nearly perfect. Some scientists believe the anglerfish may adjust the lure's movement depending on what type of prey it detects nearby. For instance, if a small fish is in the area, the anglerfish may increase the speed and randomness of the lure's twitching to mimic panicked or injured prey, something that would naturally draw a predator closer. If crustaceans are nearby, it may slow the motion, creating a more subtle, undulating rhythm that resembles a drifting copepod or mysid. The mimicry is not only about what the lure does, but about what the anglerfish doesn't do. It remains completely still. Its dark body disappears against the black water. It emits no bubbles, no visible motion, no reflection. Only the lure moves. It becomes a floating performance in an empty theatre, and the anglerfish is the invisible puppeteer. This illusion is powerful because it takes advantage of instinct. Just as moths are drawn to artificial lights on land, deep-sea animals are often hardwired to investigate sources of movement and glow. In a world of limited food, they can't afford to ignore potential meals. The anglerfish doesn't need to chase because the prey comes willingly. Its lure creates the illusion of vulnerability, a small, weak creature ripe for the taking. But behind the light lies a monster with a mouth large enough to swallow prey whole. Even more fascinating is that this technique works on a variety of species. The lure is a universal bait. Fish, shrimp, squid, many are fooled by it, regardless of their ways or hunting habits. That's what makes the lure so deadly. It doesn't rely on brute force, it exploits a deep primal response, curiosity mixed with hunger. In rare recorded observations using deep-sea submersibles, Researchers have witnessed this hunting method in action. A small fish approaches, cautiously circling the glowing bait. The lure flutters, then pauses, then flutters again. The fish hesitates, then lunges, but just as it opens its mouth to bite, the anglerfish snaps forward in an instant. The enormous jaws stretch open, and the fish vanishes into darkness. The glow dims, then resumes its dance, ready for the next visitor. It's a performance that plays out countless times, unseen by human eyes, deep in the black heart of the ocean. No applause follows, no witnesses remain, just the soft glow of a light and the silence of something waiting beneath it. The anglerfish does not hunt with strength or speed. It hunts with story, a tiny tale told in flickers of light and ripples of motion, a tale its victims believe just long enough to make their final mistake. When a creature finally gives in to the lure's hypnotic dance, when it swims just a little too close to the flickering light suspended in the darkness, a transformation occurs. In that precise moment, the anglerfish, the motionless shadow with the eerie glow, explodes into life. What was once still becomes swift, what was once hidden becomes horrifying, and what was once bait becomes a fatal ambush. This transformation is most terrifyingly embodied in the anglerfish's jaw, a weapon so disproportionately large and flexible that it almost seems unnatural. At first glance, the anglerfish doesn't look like a predator. His gelatinous body floats lazily through the water, with little muscle tone or graceful motion. But that appearance is part of the deception. Beneath the soft exterior is a mouth of monstrous potential. The anglerfish's jaw is not just large, it is enormous relative to its body. Some species have jaws that can open wide enough to engulf creatures nearly equal to their own size. In the depths of the ocean, this isn't a luxury. It's a survival strategy. Meals come rarely, and the ability to consume a large prey item when the opportunity arises can mean the difference between life and starvation. The mechanics of this jaw are astonishing. The bones are loosely hinged, allowing them to swing open in a way that seems almost detached from the skull. When prey comes close, the anglerfish unhinges its jaw like a trapdoor, opening its mouth in a vertical stretch that looks grotesque in its flexibility. The entire lower half of its head seems to drop downward, revealing row after row of needle-like teeth. These teeth, thin and translucent, curve inward like barbs, ensuring that anything caught inside is dragged deeper with each movement. Once inside, there is no way back. The more a captured creature struggles, the more firmly it becomes stuck. The opening of the mouth is aided by a powerful vacuum force. As the anglerfish snaps forward, it opens its jaw in a sudden burst, creating a rapid inrush of water. This suction pulls the prey straight into its mouth, swift, silent, and inescapable. This is not a battle. There is no chase, there is no struggle across time. The act takes only a fraction of a second. One moment the prey is approaching a gentle light. The next, it is gone. What happens next is just as remarkable. The anglerfish's stomach, like its mouth, is extremely flexible. Made of elastic tissue, it can expand dramatically to accommodate prey several times the fish's own girth. This grotesque adaptability is crucial. In the deep sea, food is so rare that anglerfish can't afford to be picky. If something large comes close and can be swallowed, it will be. And once inside, the prey is slowly digested, supplying nutrients that may sustain the anglerfish for weeks or even months. There is a strange beauty in this efficiency. The anglerfish expends almost no energy while waiting. It does not pursue, it does not attack with force. It waits in complete silence, using its bioluminescent lure as the only outward sign of life. And then, at the exact right moment, it uses this jaw, a tool of sudden violence, to take what it needs in an instant. Afterward, it returns to stillness, drifting again like a forgotten leaf on a sunken current. In many species, the mouth is not just large, it is grotesquely disproportionate. The skull bones are flat and wide to allow the jaw to stretch outward and downward. The jaw muscles, though used only occasionally, are strong and well developed for this single explosive motion. And the teeth, the teeth, are some of the most unnerving in the ocean. They look too large for the fish's own mouth. Some anglerfish cannot even fully close their mouths because the teeth would pierce through their own flesh. But evolution has designed them not for comfort, but for effectiveness. These teeth are transparent and often difficult to detect in the dim light, making them nearly invisible until it's too late. Interestingly, the structure of the jaw and stomach means that the anglerfish doesn't always have control over what it eats. Sometimes its ambition exceeds its anatomy. There have been recorded cases of anglerfish choking to death or becoming too heavy to swim after attempting to swallow something too large. But this is a risk the creature must take. In the deep sea, the next meal might not come for a very long time. Every encounter with prey could be the last for weeks. It is worth noting that this incredible jaw mechanism likely evolved in response to the scarcity of resources. In shallower waters, predators can afford to miss a meal and try again later. But in the midnight zone, failure is not just inconvenient, it's deadly. The anglerfish's adaptations, particularly its massive, rapidly opening jaw, reflect an environment where energy must be used sparingly and decisively. There is no room for hesitation, no time for second chances. And so, hidden in the darkness, the anglerfish waits with this monstrous mouth half open, like a cavern in the abyss. The glowing lure continues to flicker, promising something small and delicious. A nearby fish, guided by the instinct and hunger, edges closer, curious about the strange light. It hovers, turns, and makes its final mistake. In a single blink, the trap springs, and then the deep returns to silence. In the vast emptiness of the deep sea, where pressure crushes and darkness suffocates, life clings to the edge of survival. Here, hunger is not just an occasional discomfort. It is a constant presence, gnawing at the belly and shaping behavior, evolution, and even thought. In this place of scents and shadows, the anglerfish thrives not through speed or strength, but through deception. And the lure it carries, faint, flickering, almost dreamlike, succeeds not because it is fast, but because it is irresistible. The question then is not simply what the lure is, but why it works so well. Why do animals drawn to it so often end up as prey? The answer lies deep in the psychology of hunger and the brutal economy of energy in the deep ocean. In the surface world, where sunlight powers rich ecosystems and food is plentiful, animals can afford to be cautious. If a fish senses danger, it swims away and finds another meal. But in the bathypelagic depths, resources are scarce. Creatures here may drift for days or even weeks without finding food. Many are slow-moving, conserving every bit of energy, and some are barely active at all, living on the edge of starvation. In such an environment, even the slightest sign of food, a shimmer, a wiggle, a pulse of light, becomes a beacon of hope. The anglerfish's lure is built to tap into this desperation. To an approaching animal, the lure doesn't just represent food, it represents opportunity, perhaps the only opportunity for survival in many miles. It mimics the exact motions and glow of small prey species. The soft bioluminescent flickering imitates plankton or juvenile fish, creatures that might seem easy to catch and safe to consume. These mimicries are not accidental. The shape, movement, and glow of the lure have all evolved to match the expectations of a hungry predator or scavenger, and in the crushing darkness, perception itself is limited. Most deep-sea creatures have large, sensitive eyes tuned to pick up even the faintest light, but their ability to distinguish detail is poor. A moving glow is almost always interpreted as something living. The anglerfish relies on this assumption. The animals that approach it do not know what they are seeing. They are guessing, hoping, driven by instinct. And often they guess wrong. This is the psychological trap. The anglerfish doesn't chase its food, it offers it. It gives the illusion of something small and vulnerable, something that would be easy to swallow. The prey believes it is in control, that it has discovered a lucky meal in the dark, but in truth it has already entered the predator's stage. The performance has begun, and it's not the anglerfish who will take a bite. It's the one that seems to be biting who will vanish into a gaping mouth. The power of this deception is magnified by the laws of energy in the deep sea. Every movement requires fuel. Every failed chase is a loss. Evolution has thus selected for strategies that maximize reward and minimize risk. For the anglerfish, this means staying still and letting food come to it. For other deep-sea hunters, it means seizing opportunities quickly, even if the situation feels uncertain. The anglerfish exploits this tension. It creates a situation where its victim must choose: strike now or starve later. The result is a system that rewards deception, and the anglerfish has become one of the deep ocean's most effective liars. But there's something deeper here, something more profound than just biology. The lure works not only because of what it is, but because of what the deep sea is not. There is no warmth here, no certainty, no seasons, no light, no echoes of life above. It is an environment of absence, of things missing. In this vacuum, even the tiniest signal becomes meaningful. A flicker of light, a ripple in the water, a gentle sway. These things might be meaningless elsewhere, but here they are loud, seductive, impossible to ignore. In this way, the anglerfish's lure is both bait and metaphor. It represents the danger of hunger-driven perception, the way need can distort judgment and override fear. Just as humans might rush toward opportunity without full understanding, blinded by desire, so too do the fish and crustaceans of the deep sea inch toward the glow, unaware that the light itself is the danger. Some prey might hesitate. They may circle the lure, uncertain, but the anglerfish is patient. It can wait for hours, conserving its energy, unmoving. The lure continues its silent dance. Eventually, the hunger wins, the prey lunges, and in that moment of instinct overriding instinct, the trap is sprung. In truth, the lure would be far less deadly in a world full of light and options. But here in the dark, it holds immense power, not because it is forceful, but because it is wanted. In the deep sea, light is hope. The anglerfish offers that hope, and then devours it. This is the secret of its success. It does not conquer. It does not chase. It waits. It offers a gift. And that gift, craved more than anything in this vast starving world, is always a lie. Survival in the deep ocean is a delicate balancing act. Down here, whether the cold is constant and the darkness complete, every choice an organism makes is a gamble. Should it move? Should it stay still? Should it burn energy to chase after something that might be food? Or conserve it and risk going hungry for days? In this realm where the stakes are nothing short of life and death, the anglerfish has developed one of the most efficient energy strategies in the animal kingdom. It is not the fastest, nor the strongest, nor the most agile, but it doesn't need to be, because its greatest advantage lies in how little it has to do to survive. At the core of this deadly efficiency is the anglerfish's unique ability to trade in activity for success. Most predators use movement, fast swimming, surprise attacks, or endurance chases to secure their prey, but this burns enormous amounts of energy, which is a luxury few deep-sea creatures can afford. In contrast, the anglerfish waits. It drifts in the water column or anchors itself to the sea floor, motionless except for the slow, rhythmic twitching of its luminous lure. For hours, or even days, it may not move at all, but each flicker of its lure is a calculated investment, like a fisherman jigging a line in still water. Small energy spent, Large reward potential. The ocean's depths are a harsh and frugal world. Photosynthesis cannot reach here. There are no green plants to form the base of the food web, no sunlight to drive life. Most deep-sea creatures survive on marine snow, a slow, steady rain of organic material that drifts down from the surface. It includes dead plankton, bits of decaying fish, fecal pellets, and microscopic detritus. Every speck counts. Many animals feed on this material passively, but for predators like the anglerfish, who require more substantial meals, a more aggressive strategy is required, one that allows them to capitalize on large prey without expending more energy than they can afford to lose. This is why the anglerfish's method is so ingenious. The glowing lure brings food to the anglerfish, eliminating the need to search or chase. And when the prey approaches close enough, the anglerfish can launch an instantaneous attack using suction feeding, a rapid opening of the mouth that creates negative pressure, pulling prey in with a rush of water. The entire strike may last less than a second, and the energy required is minimal compared to what's gained in digesting a full meal. The anglerfish's body reflects this economy. It has small fins and a soft, gelatinous frame. It cannot swim quickly, and it doesn't need to. Its muscles are weak, and it has little need for rapid movement. Even its internal organs are adapted for energy conservation. The digestive system is capable of slowly breaking down large, rare meals, storing nutrients for long periods. Once it captures a significant prey item, the anglerfish can survive on that single catch for days, even weeks. Its metabolism is slow, exceptionally slow. This is a common trait among deep-sea dwellers, but in the anglerfish it reaches an art form. While a surface predator may need to eat daily to sustain its active lifestyle, the anglerfish can wait patiently for long stretches of time without feeding, using stored reserves to keep its essential systems functioning. It neither wastes nor rushes, it endures, and this efficiency goes beyond hunting and digestion. Even the way the anglerfish creates light is energy-savvy. Bioluminescence, though it seems magical, is an extraordinarily efficient process. The chemical reaction that produces light in the lure generates almost no heat, unlike a light bulb which loses energy through warmth. This cold light is the perfect tool for the cold depths. It provides visibility without burning precious calories. But perhaps the most remarkable example of the anglerfish's energy-saving adaptations lies in its reproductive strategy. In many deep-sea anglerfish species, males are tiny compared to the females, sometimes only a fraction of their size. These males do not hunt, they do not carry lures, they exist for one purpose: to find a female and mate. But in the vast emptiness of the deep, finding a partner is like searching for a single drop of ink in an endless ocean. So evolution took a strange turn. When a male finds a female, he attaches himself to her body, literally. His jaws clamp onto her skin, and over time he fuses with her. His blood vessels join with hers, and he becomes a permanent part of her body, drawing nourishment from her bloodstream. In return, he provides sperm whenever she is ready to reproduce. This bizarre parasitic union saves both animals enormous amounts of energy. The male no longer has to feed or search, the female no longer has to seek out mates. It is a grotesque but beautifully efficient solution to the problem of finding love in the abyss. Even at the level of anatomy, the anglerfish is designed for minimal output and maximum return. Its huge, expandable stomach allows it to eat prey larger than itself. Rare, but invaluable when it happens. Its translucent teeth are always angled inward, so once prey enters the mouth, it cannot escape. The skull and jawbones are loosely connected, allowing massive expansion with very little muscular effort. Every structure is optimized for a single explosive moment of success, followed by long, energy-saving stillness. Yet despite all this efficiency, the anglerfish remains vulnerable. Its strategy only works if prey comes to it. If the ecosystem changes, if bioluminescent creatures vanish, or prey evolve to ignore light, the anglerfish may face extinction. It has put all its energy into a single evolutionary basket, the ability to wait well. And in a world of changing currents and shifting temperatures, even the master of stillness must face uncertainty. But for now, it endures. In the cold, quiet world where light is rare and movement is costly, the anglerfish waits. Its glowing lure sways, its heartbeat slows, its body drifts like a forgotten memory in the water. It does not need to move, or to fight, or to dominate. It only needs to be ready. Because when the moment comes, when the flicker of movement reaches its trap, when instinct overpowers caution, the anglerfish will not hesitate. In a flash of jaws and cuts, it will feed, and then, once again, it will return to the stillness it knows so well, conserving energy until the next opportunity drifts too close. Within the eerie stillness of the deep sea, the anglerfish's lure shines like a tiny star in a midnight sky, a cold, flickering flame that burns without heat, without fire, and without ever going out. But unlike the glowing bodies of other deep-sea animals, the anglerfish's light is not entirely its own. It comes from the tiny creatures that live inside its lure, living lanterns that glow from within. These creatures are not part of the anglerfish itself, but something far more mysterious, symbiotic bacteria, ancient life forms that live in perfect partnership with their host. These glowing bacteria reside within the anglerfish's esker, the bulbous tip of the modified dorsal spine that hangs like a fishing line over the predator's mouth. The esker is a kind of biological lamp chamber, designed not to produce light on its own, but to house these microscopic companions and give them the perfect environment in which to shine. In return for safety, nutrients, and shelter, the bacteria perform their silent, ceaseless task. They glow. But how does this partnership come to be? The anglerfish is not born with glowing bacteria inside its lure. In fact, when young anglerfish hatch, their lures are dark. Scientists believe the bacteria must enter the lure from the environment, possibly passed through the water column, or through ingestion, or perhaps absorbed through a specialized tissue in the esker that selectively allows only certain microbes to colonize the space. However it happens, it is a delicate and rare event. Only the correct type of bacteria can form this partnership, and it must happen early in the anglerfish's life. Once the bacteria establish themselves in the esker, the anglerfish offers them nutrients, rich in amino acids, salts, and sugars, produced by its own bloodstream. It maintains a carefully controlled internal environment inside the lure, low in oxygen, dark and stable in temperature. These conditions allow the bacteria to flourish and produce bioluminescence through a chemical reaction involving a compound called luciferin and an enzyme called luciferase. When luciferin is oxidized by luciferase in the presence of oxygen, it emits photons, tiny particles of light. The result is a soft blue-green glow that pierces the black waters like a flame in a cave. But this is no chaotic blaze. The anglerfish has control. Through tiny muscles and pigment-filled cells surrounding the esker, it can modulate the intensity of the glow, shielding the light or revealing it as needed. It can dim it to a faint flicker to mimic drifting plankton, or brighten it into a radiant pulse to catch the attention of larger prey. The lure becomes not just a source of light, but a dynamic tool, capable of subtle variation, depending on the anglerfish's intentions. The symbiosis between anglerfish and their glowing bacteria is one of the deep ocean's most elegant biological partnerships. The bacteria, who might otherwise struggle to survive in the open ocean, receive a protected environment with steady resources. In return, they make the anglerfish's strategy possible. Without these bacteria, the lure would be no more than a limp spine, useless in the dark. With them, it becomes one of the most effective hunting tools in the sea. there's still much we don't understand about these luminous bacteria. They are nearly impossible to culture in laboratories. Attempts to grow them outside the anglerfish's body have repeatedly failed, suggesting that they require a very specific environment to survive, one that only the anglerfish can provide. This means that studying them is extremely difficult. Most of what we know comes from dissecting preserved specimens, or briefly observing live anglerfish captured from the deep, often under stressful and unnatural conditions. Yet even with limited information, one thing is clear. These bacteria have co-evolved with their host over millions of years. They are not just passengers, and they are not parasites. Their genes have adapted for life inside the esker, and in some cases have lost the ability to live independently. In other words, they have become so intertwined with the anglerfish that they can no longer survive without it. And perhaps the anglerfish can no longer survive without them. This relationship mirrors many of nature's most intimate biological partnerships. Just as coral polyps depend on algae for photosynthesis, and humans rely on gut microbes to digest food and regulate health, the anglerfish and its bacteria are locked in a biological dance, one that plays out far from the reach of sunlight. It also raises profound questions. What does it mean to be a single organism, when the most important part of your survival depends on something living inside you but not of you? Is the anglerfish a single predator, or a composite of life forms acting together in perfect coordination? The lure is not alive in itself, but the glow that makes it deadly comes from living cells. The line between predator and partner becomes blurry, glowing faintly in the deep like the light of the esk itself. There may be other secrets hidden in this glow. Some scientists speculate that the bacteria may communicate with one another inside the lure using quorum sensing, a process where bacteria coordinate behavior once their population reaches a certain threshold. It's possible they only begin glowing once a critical mass of them has gathered, ensuring their light is bright enough to be useful. This would mean the glow is not just a chemical reaction, it is a group decision, a bacterial consensus shining through the dark. And perhaps that's the most haunting truth of all. The anglerfish's lure, the trembling flame in the darkness, the whisper of hope for hungry prey, is not a machine or a weapon in the traditional sense. It is alive. It pulses with microbial life, ancient and invisible, dancing in harmony with the predator that houses it. Together they form something greater than either could be alone. A living trap, a flickering lie, a promise written in light. In the deep ocean where fire cannot burn and sunlight never shines, this is the only kind of flame that endures. In the shadowy depth of the deep sea, where pressure crushes and light is nearly absent, evolution has taken some of its most bizarre and astonishing turns. Among these is one of the strangest phenomena in all of nature, the extreme and almost unbelievable difference between male and female anglerfish. If the deep sea is a theatre of extremes, then this sexual dimorphism is one of its most dramatic acts. The females, large and fearsome, equipped with glowing lures and massive jaws, are the stars of the show. The males, on the other hand, are so small and seemingly insignificant that for a long time scientists didn't even realize they were part of the same species. While the female anglerfish drifts through the water like a nightmarish apparition, fully equipped for the deadly game of ambush predation, the male leads a very different life. He is tiny, often only a few centimeters long, sometimes just 1/10 the size of the female. He has no glowing lure, his jaws are weak and his stomach is often reduced or entirely absent. He cannot hunt, and he cannot survive on his own for long. His body is built for a single task, to find a female before he starves. This evolutionary strategy may seem cruel or lopsided, but in the vast, barren desert of the deep sea, it makes a kind of brutal sense. In the abyss, encounters between members of the same species are exceedingly rare. Vast distances, low population density, and the absence of light make finding a mate a monumental challenge. So the male anglerfish, born into a world of endless darkness and isolation, lives with one mission coded into his very cells: locate a female. He achieves this through an extraordinary sensitivity to smell. The male is equipped with highly developed olfactory organs that can detect the chemical signals, pheromones, released by a female anglerfish, even at great distances. He does not hunt with his eyes. He follows invisible trails through the water, driven by an instinct as old as the ocean itself. When at last he finds her, something strange happens. He does not court her. He does not mate with her in the usual sense. Instead, he bites her. Gently, prosaically, he attaches himself to her body, usually near the belly. And then, slowly, he begins to fuse with her. His jaw and lips dissolve into her skin. His blood vessels merge with hers. His organs begin to shut down. Over time, he becomes little more than an appendage, a small parasitic sperm-producing organ permanently grafted onto her body. This is not exaggeration or metaphor. It is biological reality. Once fused, the male no longer eats. He no longer thinks, moves, or acts independently. His eyes may atrophy. His digestive system is reabsorbed. Everything that is not necessary to his new role is discarded. He lives off the nutrients provided by the female's bloodstream, and in exchange, he offers his sperm whenever she needs it. Some females carry multiple males, 2, 5, even 8 or more, attached at various points on their bodies like strange growths, each a living legacy of a successful encounter in the abyss. This reproductive strategy, while startling, is extraordinarily efficient. It ensures that the female has a constant supply of sperm whenever she is ready to release her eggs, which may be triggered by environmental cues such as seasonal changes in temperature or pressure. And the male, though reduced to a fragment of himself, succeeds in the only evolutionary purpose he was ever given: passing on his genes. Not all anglerfish species employ this extreme form of sexual fusion. In some, the male remains free-living, searching for a female and mating without attachment. But in many of the deep-sea species, the ones that live in the most remote and inhospitable parts of the ocean, this form of parasitic reproduction is the norm. It is, in its own way, a triumph of adaptation. This bizarre coupling challenges many of our assumptions about identity, individuality, and the roles of gender in nature. It blurs the line between two separate organisms and a single composite being. Once fused, the male is no longer a partner. He becomes part of her. They are not two fish anymore, but one, with different bodies and intertwined biology. Together they navigate the deep as a single reproductive unit, a floating fortress of survival. From an evolutionary standpoint, this is a strategy that solves multiple problems. It removes the need for long-distance mate searching after that first contact. It eliminates the energy cost of courtship. It guarantees reproductive success even in the sparsest of ecosystems. But it also comes with trade-offs. The male gives up his independence, his body, and ultimately his life. The female, in turn, becomes a host, carrying her mate as a permanent fixture of her existence. To human eyes, this may seem tragic, even grotesque, but in the deep sea where life teeters on the edge of impossibility, such strategies are not rare. They are necessary. Nature cares nothing for fairness. It rewards what works. And this strange, silent union between anglerfish may be one of the most successful adaptations the ocean has ever produced. So the next time you picture the anglerfish drifting through black water, her lure glowing with borrowed light, remember that she is not truly alone. Somewhere, often hidden against her shadowy body, a small male clings to her like a forgotten memory, silent and fused, a tiny beating heart within a greater predator. They are bound together by need, by hunger, by biology, and together they endure the crushing dark. In the deep sea where the light of the sun cannot reach and shadows are not cast but are simply endless, survival depends on far more than jaws or teeth or speed. It depends on becoming invisible. It depends on learning to disappear into the very fabric of the blackness that surrounds you. In this silent, pressure-filled realm, the anglerfish is not only a deadly predator, it is also a master of camouflage and stealth, an artist of the abyss. Its entire body is shaped by the demands of remaining unseen, of blending in so completely with its surroundings that it might as well not exist until it chooses to strike. At first glance, the anglerfish doesn't appear particularly stealthy. Its shape is lumpy, even misshapen. Its movements are sluggish, and it lacks the streamlined elegance we often associate with stealthy predators like sharks or barracuda. But that impression is misleading. The anglerfish does not need to move quickly or silently. It does not hide behind rocks or dart into crevices. Instead, it uses stillness itself as camouflage. Its strategy is to become part of the water column, an indistinct shape floating like a dead leaf, offering nothing for the eye or the senses to notice. Its coloration is part of this illusion. The anglerfish's skin is typically a deep, muddy brown or nearly black, absorbing what little ambient light exists in the deep sea. Its surface is dull and non-reflective, eliminating the possibility of giving off even the faintest glint or shimmer that might betray its presence. In a world where light is currency, the anglerfish offers none. It is the perfect void. Some species take camouflage a step further. Their skin is covered in tiny, irregular flaps, tassels, or filaments, fleshy extensions that break up the outline of the body. These structures mimic drifting bits of organic matter, like seaweed or detritus, making the anglerfish appear more like debris than a living thing. This trick, known as disruptive coloration and mimetic morphology, is common among deep-sea ambush predators. It prevents prey from recognizing them as fish. It turns them into background noise. But camouflage in the deep sea is not limited to sight, it extends to other senses. Many creatures in these depths use highly sensitive lateral lines to detect movement and vibration in the water. They can feel the tiny pulses created by a swimming animal long before they can see it. The anglerfish, therefore, moves as little as possible. When it does move, it does so with a slow, almost dreamlike drift. Its fins paddle gently, barely displacing the water. There are no sudden bursts, no waves of motion. It drifts, hovers, waits. Its very biology supports this stealth. The anglerfish has a soft, gelatinous body with minimal muscle mass, reducing the effort and energy needed to remain neutrally buoyant. It neither sinks nor floats upward rapidly. It simply exists within the water column, suspended like a memory, with minimal need for motion. Its energy is stored, preserved for the only moment that matters, the strike. And even in that moment, the anglerfish is careful. The attack is not prolonged. There is no chase. The jaw opens with lightning speed, and suction draws the prey inward. There is no thrashing or battle. The target is engulfed before it even realizes what is happening. The ocean remains silent. The water barely ripples, and the anglerfish resumes its stillness as though nothing had happened at all. Stealth also means being invisible to larger predators. While the anglerfish is a hunter, it is not invulnerable. Larger creatures, some even stranger than the anglerfish itself, prowl the depths, and to them the anglerfish may be prey. Thus its camouflage must work in both directions, to fool those it hunts and those that might hunt it. The dark skin, the lack of reflective surfaces, the solar motion, the irregular shape, these are all defences, carefully evolved over eons to avoid detection from every angle. There's even some evidence that the anglerfish can alter its position in the water to reduce its profile when danger approaches. By orienting its body vertically or angling slightly away from a threat, it minimizes the silhouette it presents. much like how a human might hide in the shadow of a doorway. It may not be intelligent in the way we think of human stealth, but it is deeply instinctual. Every twitch and drift is purposeful. This stealth extends to the lure itself. Despite being a source of light, the lure is positioned directly in front of the anglerfish's face, close to the mouth. Prey that see the light are drawn to it, but because the rest of the anglerfish is so well hidden, the lure seems to float in isolation. The prey approaches, curious or hopeful, and sees no threat. Only at the last moment does the truth reveal itself, and by then it's far too late. And so the anglerfish, like a shadow pretending to be nothing at all, continues its eternal waiting game. It does not chase, it does not roar, and it does not dazzle. Instead, it simply ceases to exist in the awareness of those around it, until it decides to act. Camouflage and stealth are not separate strategies in the deep. They are survival itself. In the world above, animals use speed, numbers, or strength to gain the upper hand. But down here in the crushing silent dark, the best way to live is to vanish, to become the stillness, to become the silence, to become the deep. In the world of the deep sea, where light never touches and the pressure is relentless, there is no room for wasted motion. Every movement, every breath, every flick of a fin must be weighed against the cost of energy, because in the midnight zone, food is not a daily promise. It is a rare and uncertain gift. In this hostile silence, the anglerfish has developed a way of life built around stillness, patience, and timing. It does not stalk. It does not pursue. Instead, it becomes the sea itself, waiting in absolute stillness for the one opportunity that may come or may not. But stillness is only one half of the anglerfish's genius. The other half is its precision, its ability to detect, judge, and strike without hesitation or error. It is not blind in the darkness. Rather, it is tuned to the faintest whispers of the sea. Though its eyes may be small, its other senses are remarkably refined, allowing it to feel what it cannot see. This stealthy predator relies on the movement of its glowing lure to entice prey, but it does not merely hope something will wander into reach. It monitors the environment with a sensitivity that borders on supernatural. Like many fish, the anglerfish possesses a lateral line system, an intricate network of fluid-filled canals along the sides of its body, lined with hair-like cells that detect changes in water pressure and vibration. This allows it to feel the movement of animals around it, even in total darkness. A distant flutter of fins, the subtle beat of a small fish's tail, the faintest ripple in the water, these are signals, and the anglerfish listens. It does not respond immediately. Instead, it waits. The anglerfish is not concerned with passing shadows or brief glances. It allows the prey to come close, very close, drawn forwards by the lure, unaware that the space it has entered is no longer empty. The predator measures distance in patience. The longer it waits, the more certain the kill. It knows that prey drawn by the light will hesitate, circle, investigate. The longer they remain, the more they lower their guard. The anglerfish uses this time like a coiled spring, storing energy not in muscle tension but in stillness. It is like a trap made of flesh, waiting for a signal. Then, when the moment is right, the anglerfish becomes motion itself. It strikes with shocking speed, despite its usual sluggishness. Its entire head seems to unhinge, the lower jaw dropping like a gate. Water rushes inward in a sudden vacuum, dragging the prey into a mouth lined with inward-facing teeth. These teeth are not merely for holding, they are for trapping. Once something enters the anglerfish's mouth, it cannot back out. The more it struggles, the deeper it goes, but even the strike is an exercise in precision. The anglerfish does not bite at shadows. It does not snap at uncertain shapes. It strikes only when the prey is close enough, only when the angle is perfect. This means it misses almost nothing. While many predators rely on multiple attempts, the anglerfish rarely needs more than one. It doesn't waste energy on failure, it waits for success to come to it. And in the moments before the attack, there is a stillness so perfect it's almost holy. The lure dances softly, the prey hovers near, the anglerfish waits, even its breathing slows. There are no bubbles, no sounds, no signs of life except for the soft shimmer of the light. It is a performance played in near silence. No music, no noise, only shadows and instinct. Some prey may sense that something is wrong. They may turn away, start to drift off. But the anglerfish knows when to strike even in retreat. The suction created by its sudden jaw opening doesn't require direct contact. The water itself becomes the weapon, and anything too close is pulled in too late to escape. In this way, the anglerfish takes not only the boldest prey, but the cautious ones as well. No hesitation, no warning, just the sudden collapse of stillness into motion, and then back to stillness again. What follows is equally remarkable. The anglerfish does not revel in its victory. It does not thrash or shake its prey. Instead, it simply swallows. The jaws close, the glow continues, and the predator resets. There is no celebration in the deep, only survival. The food, once inside, is slowly digested by an elastic stomach that expands to accommodate prey, often as large as the anglerfish itself. This meal may be the only one for weeks, perhaps even longer. But the anglerfish is built for that. Its metabolism slows. It drifts, silent and sated, until the hunger returns. What makes the anglerfish so haunting is not just how it hunts, but how it waits. In a world that demands constant motion from most living things, the anglerfish has learned to thrive through almost complete stillness. It has turned patience into power. It has weaponized silence. It exists not to chase the world, but to let the world come to it unaware. In the midnight zone there are no cheers, no victories carved in coral or bone. There are only moments, tiny invisible moments where something moves too close to a light, moments where hunger meets instinct, and moments where silence, perfectly kept, becomes the deadliest force of all. Far beneath the reach of sunlight, in the cold and crushing stillness of the ocean's abyss, evolution has taken strange and unexpected paths. The creatures that live here are not shaped by beauty or grace, but by necessity. They are forged in pressure, cloaked in darkness, and driven by hunger. Among them, the anglerfish stands out as a masterpiece of adaptation, a creature whose bizarre features and deadly tactics have evolved not randomly, but with a purpose as precise and profound as any clockwork machine. To understand why the anglerfish looks and acts the way it does, we must step back, far back into the long and patient history of evolution, and trace how time and nature sculpted one of the most unusual predators on Earth. Millions of years ago, the ancestors of today's anglerfish lived in shallower waters, where light still touched the sea. They were not the monsters we know now. They likely resembled ordinary fish, small, perhaps timid, feeding on plankton and tiny crustaceans. But the deep sea, even then, was a vast and mostly unexplored territory, filled with opportunity and danger. As some populations of fish began to explore deeper environments, either to avoid predators, reduce competition, or follow sinking food, they encountered a world so alien that their survival depended on radical change. The deep sea offers no light, immense pressure, low temperatures, and scarce food. These were the shaping forces that moulded the modern anglerfish. Each adaptation we see today, the enormous mouth, the bioluminescent lure, the bizarre sexual dimorphism, can be understood as part of a grand evolutionary response to these challenges. Let's begin with the most iconic feature, the glowing lure. Early in its evolutionary journey, a small ancestral fish may have developed a simple extension of the dorsal spine. At first, this fin ray may have served some basic purpose, perhaps sensory or for balance. But then something remarkable happened. This spine became elongated and mobile. Over time it migrated forward, positioning itself above the fish's head. The tip of this structure became specialized and eventually formed the esker, a small bulbous organ capable of housing bioluminescent bacteria. These bacteria too were evolving. Certain strains adapted to live inside the esker, protected from the hostile world, nourished by the fish's body. In return, they offered the gift of light. This light was no accident. It became a tool. In the total blackness of the bathypelagic zone, where nothing shines and eyes are tuned to see even the faintest glimmer, the glowing lure became a game changer. It allowed the anglerfish to attract prey without moving. Evolution favoured those individuals who could draw food close, rather than spend precious energy searching for it. The lure grew more complex, more manoeuvrable, more convincing. It began to mimic the behaviour of living prey, twitching, bobbing, swaying. This convergence of microbial light and anatomical innovation gave birth to the anglerfish's most devastating feature. But the lure alone would be useless without a way to capture the drawn-in prey. And so evolution turned its attention to the mouth. Over thousands of generations, the anglerfish's jaws became larger, its bones more flexible. Cartilage was replaced by ligaments that could stretch and snap back into place. The mouth evolved to open astonishingly wide, far beyond what most fish are capable of. The teeth, once modest, grew long and curved inward like transparent spears, designed not to kill but to trap. Combined with a powerful suction mechanism, this mouth could engulf prey nearly as large as the anglerfish itself in an instant. The creatures that lingered near the lure had no chance to escape. Those anglerfish that could consume the biggest meals were more likely to survive the long fasts between catches. And so, generation after generation, the jaws grew wider, the stomach more elastic, the trap more effective. As this hunting strategy became more refined, the rest of the body followed suit. The anglerfish became softer, less muscular. It needed no speed. Strength was replaced with efficiency. The fins shrank. The tail became less active. It learned to float, to hover with minimal movement. Its colour darkened, matching the blackness of the water around it. Eyes became secondary. Chemoreceptors and vibration-sensitive cells took on greater roles. The entire fish became a platform for the lure and the mouth. Nothing more, nothing less. But the deep sea held one more challenge: finding a mate. In the emptiness of the ocean's lower reaches, life is sparse and spread thin. Even with pheromone detection and large sensory organs, it might take a male angler fish years to locate a female. In such a world, once found, a mate could not be lost. And so evolution took a radical turn, one seen in very few species anywhere on Earth. Male anglerfish became smaller. They stopped developing hunting organs, stopped forming strong digestive systems. Instead, their bodies shrank into streamlined shapes optimized for locating and attaching to a female. When a male found a partner, he would bite her and fuse into her body, becoming a permanent reproductive organ, an attached life form entirely dependent on her for nutrients, but available at all times to provide sperm. This parasitic fusion guaranteed reproduction, even if it meant the total sacrifice of the male's independence. Such a strategy, as extreme as it seems, proved remarkably successful. It ensured that even in the darkest reaches of the sea, where loneliness is the rule and contact is rare, the species could continue. Every part of the anglerfish's anatomy today tells this story. The lure is not just a light. It is the result of millions of years of evolutionary refinement, combining the talents of two species, the fish and its glowing symbionts. The mouth is not just wide, it is a trap engineered by starvation and necessity. The body is not just soft, It is sculpted for efficiency in a world where energy is sacred. And the male is not just small, he is a survivor in a world that forced biology to rewrite its own rules. Even now, evolution continues. Anglerfish species adapt in subtle ways to the specific regions of the deepest sea they occupy. Some grow longer lures, others develop more sensitive receptors. A few show signs of shifting behavior patterns depending on prey availability or temperature changes. They are not frozen in time. They are still changing, still perfecting their role as one of the ocean's most bizarre yet efficient predators. When we look at the anglerfish, it's easy to see a monster, something alien, disturbing, grotesque. But to see only that is to miss the wonder, because beneath its frightening appearance lies one of the most astonishing evolutionary success stories on Earth. It is the product of patience and pressure, of adaptation and chance. It is the sum of countless survival stories whispered across ages and generations in the language of biology. It is not beautiful in the way we often imagine beauty, but in the language of nature, where function defines form. The anglerfish is near perfection. While the anglerfish is one of the most iconic and terrifying predators in the deep sea, it is far from alone in its use of deception. Across the vast, pitch-black expanse of the deep ocean, there exists a strange and silent arms race. A world where evolution has produced an entire cast of characters who also wield light as a weapon, a trap or a disguise. The anglerfish may be the most famous for its glowing lure, but many of its deep-sea cousins, relatives and competitors have developed their own strategies to survive in this realm of eternal night. These creatures, known collectively as anglerfish, or members of the order Lophiiformes, display an astonishing variety of adaptations, all centered around one central idea: light is life and light is death. The basic body plan of many anglerfish species is similar: a large head, a wide mouth, and a long dorsal spine that forms a lure. But evolution, like a sculptor with infinite patience, has carved that basic design into 1,000 variations. Some anglerfish species live just above the ocean floor, lying in wait like traps buried in sand. Others hover in midwater, drifting silently with outstretched jaws. Each has tuned its lure to match its preferred prey and environment. For example, some deep-sea anglerfish have evolved elaborate lures that look like far more than just a glowing bulb. In certain species, the lure is split into multiple filaments, like tiny tentacles or trailing ribbons of light. These filaments can move independently, wiggling and curling in patterns that resemble swimming animals. This illusion is further enhanced by the use of different types of bioluminescent flashes, pulsing at just the right rhythm to mimic a school of darting shrimp or the erratic flicker of an injured fish. In some rare species, the lure is housed within a hood-like flap of skin that the fish can open or close, like a lantern with a shutter. This allows them to control the visibility of their glow with even greater precision. In total darkness, being able to reveal or conceal your light is as powerful as turning on or off a spotlight in a pitch-black theatre. The fish can hide its position until the perfect moment, then unveil the lure when it senses potential prey nearby, drawing it in like a moth to a flame. Other anglerfish relatives have taken the use of bioluminescence in different directions. Instead of just the eschar, some have bioluminescent spots or patterns scattered across their bodies, on their tails, flanks, or even fins. These lights might function as decoys, mimicking smaller organisms to draw attention away from the fish's vital parts. Or they might serve as a form of camouflage through counter-illumination, lighting up the underside of the body to match the dim glow of the water above, making the fish invisible to predators below. One particularly bizarre branch of the anglerfish family includes those that dwell near the seafloor. These benthic anglerfish often forgo the floating lantern-like lure and instead evolve lures that resemble worms or invertebrates buried in sediment. These lures are motionless, embedded in the sand like fishing bait, while the anglerfish lies almost completely buried, with only its eyes and lure exposed. When a curious creature comes to investigate what appears to be an easy snack, the predator erupts from the ground like a living trapdoor, jaws first. But perhaps at the most mysterious of all are those anglerfish with lures that imitate not just movement and shape but behaviour. Some scientists believe certain species have evolved lures that don't just mimic prey, they mimic the signals of prey in distress. For example, a lure may twitch and flicker in a pattern that resembles an injured fish or a struggling crustacean, precisely the kind of animal that predators are drawn to. In this way, the anglerfish is not mimicking food, but a scene, a story, a deception layered in time and motion. This puts the anglerfish's relatives on a strange and theatrical evolutionary path. The deep sea is a stage where the actors are invisible, the dialogue is silent, and the only light is used to tell lies. Those who tell the most convincing lies survive. And it's not just anglerfish that participate in this evolutionary theatre. Other deep-sea predators, like dragonfish and viperfish, also use bioluminescence for hunting, often emitting light from organs near their eyes, jaws, or flanks. Some create blinking patterns to confuse prey. Others use red bioluminescence, nearly invisible to most deep-sea creatures, to illuminate prey without revealing themselves. These species, while not direct relatives of the anglerfish, are part of the same evolutionary arms race, mastering light in a world of darkness. Still, few match the anglerfish in terms of raw deception. Its combination of passive stillness and active mimicry is unmatched. While the dragonfish may swim in pursuit, and the viperfish may ambush from below, the anglerfish sits quietly, letting the illusion do the work. Its relatives expand on this strategy, taking it in every imaginable direction. Bigger lures, subtler movements, more complex light patterns. Even among anglerfish that look nearly identical on the outside, the lures can differ dramatically. This suggests that while the body plan may be conserved, the lure evolves rapidly, perhaps even in response to changes in local prey populations. If a species of shrimp becomes more abundant, the lure might shift over generations to better mimic that particular prey. If squid become more common, the movement and brightness of the lure may evolve to match. It's a living, glowing reflection of the ecosystem itself, a mirror held up to the desires and instincts of everything that shares the dark. This diversity in deception also raises fascinating questions. Do prey species evolve to recognize the danger of glowing lures? Can they learn over generations to distinguish between real food and living traps? If so, then the anglerfish and its kin are constantly racing to stay ahead of detection, a co-evolutionary spiral in which prey gets smarter and predators get sneakier. For now, though, the anglerfish and its deep-sea cousins remain dominant. They are the silent tricksters of the abyss, each carrying a tiny flame into the dark, each telling a slightly different story to those who draw near. A story of weakness, a story of hope, a story of something small and edible, struggling just out of reach. And every time the story ends the same way, with jaws opening wide and silence swallowing light. In the end, the anglerfish remains one of the deep sea's most haunting mysteries, a creature so bizarre, so otherworldly that it challenges our very understanding of what life can be. To many it is a monster, a nightmare vision conjured from the black depths of the ocean's unconscious. But if we look more closely, if we pause and set aside our surface-dwelling judgments, we begin to see something else. The anglerfish is not simply a predator. It is a testament to life's relentless ingenuity. And its tiny trembling lure, the glowing bait that floats before its mouth like a fragile star, is not just a weapon, it is a symbol. The anglerfish lives in a world defined by absence. No sunlight ever reaches the midnight zone, no warmth, no weather. Time has no meaning here. There are no seasons, no tides. There is only cold silence and pressure so immense it would crush most forms of life into oblivion. And yet here in this inhospitable emptiness, the anglerfish survives. It has not just adapted to the darkness, it has become part of it. It does not fear the void. It lives within it, uses it, bends it to its purpose. The lure is the anglerfish's answer to the problem of living in a world where nothing can be seen. It is a tiny flame of meaning in the chaos, a flicker of intention in a realm of shadows, and though it is built to deceive, to trick, to kill, it is still light, a soft, ghostly glow in the most lightless place on earth. There is something almost poetic about that. The anglerfish's life is a slow one. It does not rush. It does not chase. It waits. In a world where speed and energy are luxuries, the anglerfish chooses patience. It chooses stillness. It floats in the dark, unseen, unnoticed, until something stumbles into its sphere of illusion. This is not a lifestyle of greed or chaos. It is a lifestyle of precision and control. The anglerfish does not devour out of frenzy. It devours because it must, because it has waited, sometimes for days, for that one moment. In the quiet after the strike, when the prey is gone and the light resumes its dance, the anglerfish returns to stillness. It does not celebrate. It does not revel. It simply resets. Its life is a cycle of waiting and acting, hunger and silence, glow and darkness. And in that rhythm it finds a kind of peace. Perhaps that is why the anglerfish fascinates us so deeply, because it represents more than just biology. It reflects something ancient and hidden in ourselves, a part that watches from the shadows, that waits for the right moment, that knows how to survive not through power, but through subtlety. In the glowing lure, we see a mirror of all the little hopes we chase, a flicker in the dark that promises something more. And perhaps that's the deepest truth of the anglerfish. It survives not just because it is deadly or efficient or strange, but because it understands the most fundamental truth of life in the deep. Sometimes all it takes is a little light to draw the world toward you, a little light to remind the darkness that you're still there, a little light to say, I exist. And so the anglerfish drifts on, in silence, in stillness, in shadows, with its lantern swaying gently in the black, waiting, watching, enduring, a living paradox, the predator that becomes invisible by shining.